even looked.
For the barn?
No, is that on there?
That is weird, you said you
Yeah,
said
the
it
only
on
one
there.
was the Etsy thing that I sent you. Link, I mean,
Well, you've seen the third, you said it.
I did scan. Yeah, at the time I didn't have my bill
Must be his
I thought,
coat.
well, maybe I forgot to
Well, when you said that, I was
What time
like,
is it?
resend it
Yeah.
again.
I've got right at 5 o'clock, we'll get started on our school board meeting. Welcome to the Norfolk School Board meeting. We'll do the opening prayer. Mr. Williams, do you mind doing it for us?
Just bow your heads. Father, we just thank you for this opportunity, and Father, we thank you that you blessed us with a great start to a new year. As we go through tonight, we just pray that you give us wisdom and guidance and the best ways to handle the finances and to do what's best for these students on a daily basis. In your precious name, amen.
Consider previous month's regular board meeting minutes.
Recording in progress.
We got a motion and a second to accept the previous month's regular board meeting minutes. Oh, okay.
Y'all go ahead.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Consider financial report and bills.
What was the tiller for? Tiller? Yeah. Working on the fields. We redone, I don't know if y'all noticed, but, and we're fixing to do some work on softball. I need to look at the baseball field and get a chance. All right.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the financial report and bills. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Communication to the board.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't, okay, let me turn this up, I'm gonna turn you around here. We are here with our board, so I'm gonna kind of turn you over to them and I'll be listening. This is, you say your first name, is it Aaron or Aaron?
It's just Aaron. I don't know why my parents did that to me. I think they just didn't want me to get a keychain in Florida.
It's A-Y-R-O-N, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's unique. Anyway, Miss Erin came and visited with us last week. We've been in contact with her for off and on for probably over, yeah. But in our talks about communication and kind of centralizing everything over the past 12 months or whatever, a lot of schools have went to Apogee, and she came and visited, showed us some things. I thought the best thing to do after what we heard was to let her go over that with y'all, and y'all ask any questions you want to. We're very interested in it. I am going to say that some of the things, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, and I know this will come up again probably, and that's fine, but if we do something like this, it would be website, also, this is the way I said it the other day, so again, correct me if I'm wrong, and y'all question me however you want, but this will be, we will have like a Facebook, I don't know what the right word is, a Facebook piece in this, but it won't be Facebook, if that makes sense, where we can, control, but it'll go out to everybody, we download everybody's contacts, just like you probably do with Remind and stuff, but we can upload emails, we can upload, am I saying all this right so far?
Yeah.
Or with parents, community, whoever wants to be a part of it, and then if it gets to a point where we need to okay that or whatever, obviously parents and any of our kids at the present time, they need to be up in there every year or whatever. But anyway, that's kind of some things that led us to looking at this and considering it. She'll talk about cost and all that, we know what that is. But y'all are welcome to ask her any questions you want. I just thought that was the best way to do it moving forward. But this is kind of one of our, I don't know if it's a tax or trying to improve what we try to get that communication better and condensed down to one spot. It kind of goes with everything we're, even with some of this latest stuff, you said, well, it's on the website or is it on Facebook? This would all be right here, if that makes sense. So, again, Aaron, I'm gonna turn you over to, I think everybody should be able to hear you that's here, but I'm gonna face you toward our school board, and then if they wanna talk, they can move it in front of them or whatever.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
For me.
Y'all move that however you want, or whatever you want to do. You can turn it up some more. if you want.
I didn't know if it was just gonna end up landing on like one person or.
I don't know what it's, just go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, everyone can hear me okay? Can everybody see the screen okay? So I'll share my screen here in a second. Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much for letting me be a part of the board meeting. I'll be conscious of the time because I know there's probably a lot of other agenda items, but appreciate everyone's time tonight and excited about the conversation. So we're working with, I think it's 10 out of the 14 districts in the co-op that you guys are a part of, or that the district's a part of. And we're a Little Rock company, so we're not too far. So like he said, I drove up there last week and visited for a little bit. But basically, kind of like what he had mentioned or what he's saying is what we hear from districts all the time is that there's so many different places that districts have to keep updated. And so that can make it tough on the staff to keep it updated in all the different places at the same time. But then on the parent and the community side, there's a lot of different places that they can go. So like he said, it sounds like he's heard from people like, is that on Facebook, is that on the website, like where was that posted? And so essentially what we're trying to do is help consolidate things on both sides so it's easy for the district to push information out, but really easy for parents and people in the community to know where to go, where to get the information as well. So I'll share my screen and show a few examples to you guys, and feel free as we're going through, if anyone wants to stop me for questions, just let me know and I can answer them as we're going through everything too. Cool, so I'm gonna share my phone screen here. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I shared my phone screen first because, like he was saying, right, it's like with Facebook, with social media, like all the things that people are looking at nowadays, like typically how they're getting the information is from their phone, right? And so a lot of districts have recognized this. It's like, okay, the phone is the one thing we all have in common now. But what we see happen in a lot of cases is a district might go out and get an app, might look something like this. You guys might have even had similar experiences to this in the past. But what happens is, this is not one that we built, but let's say we're parents and we click on something in the app. The typical experience is that the app then just redirects back to the website. And if I'm looking for lunch, right, you can see I'm still here a number of clicks away from getting the lunch menu. So for a lot of people, they're probably going to be like, get frustrated, right? Not going to come back and use this. Especially if they notice here it's just redirecting to the website anyways. Okay. So this is where we're trying to take a really different approach. This is Izzard here. And if we're the same parents from earlier looking for lunch, I can actually scroll down on this screen and see it. Or if we're in like the grocery store, you know, planning for the whole week or something, right? As a parent, they can come in here and see the daily, weekly, even monthly view. Cool. So hopefully you guys are seeing kind of some of the differences or how easy that would make things. The sections in here are customizable, right? So we work with the district on like what sections need to be here. But the thought is now everything that people need on a regular basis is just 2 clicks away. So I think events is another big one. Now parents can come in here, they can share these events, add them to their own calendar, just a few clicks. They can contact people on staff, again, just a few clicks, send emails, make calls. So I know I'm going kind of fast here for the sake of time, but so far, like any questions, or do you guys see this being something that would make it easier for people? I think something that you guys might really like about it too is he mentioned the piece that's kind of like Facebook. The feed is the piece that he was referring to here. So we've tried to make this look like a social media feed. But what's neat about it is now with parents already coming back to your app, right, for the lunch menu, for the events, for the staff, right, whatever those sections are, now the feed with all of the stories is all happening now within the Norfolk app. Right, so it looks like Facebook or Instagram or something like that, but you'll notice if I click on a story here, it actually keeps me within the app. It's a native feed here. And it's all just the district stuff being pushed out, right? So they're not having to compete with everything else people might be following on social media, right? And now when people don't have a Facebook or an Instagram, right, it gives them another way to see the stories in here too. Awesome. Hopefully you guys see how this kind of becomes like the central source, like on the parent and the community side. On the flip side of this, we don't want to create another channel that they're having to keep updated. And so that's where Thrill Share comes in. So now from this spot, if they want to share something out, right, if you guys decide to still do social media here, right, you can reach Facebook, X, and Instagram. The live feed updates that live feed in the app that we were just looking at. Also updates the live feed on the website. You can send push notifications now from the Norfolk app. Even do one-way text messages, voice calls, and email, all from this screen here. So now the thought is, it's kind of like regardless of where someone's getting their information, like everyone's getting that same consistent information here. I guess any questions or thoughts on anything so far? Again, I know I'm kind of going fast, but trying to not take up too much time from anybody.
When you said there was a feature for a one-way text, is that set up to where if somebody in the community seen a story or whatever they wanted to communicate with the district, be one of the administrators or something, where that they route that to a particular individual, or is that same as a Facebook post of where anybody that's logged on can see it?
Yeah, so good question. So a few different pieces in the app, right? Like they could call an administrator directly from the app. That live feed that shows all the stories like Facebook, nobody can comment or react to that, so it kind of gives a little bit more, I'll say like control over the message, right? Since people can't comment and that can't be seen by everybody. This right here is actually from the district to the parent, so all the information gets in here is from eSchool. And so the district would have like lists. This could be community members, it could be all staff, all parents, right? And this is pretty much like what they would send out if there was like a snow day or like a weather delay or something like that. Did that answer the question? I know I kind of ran.
Yeah, I think so. So you're saying the one way is district out to the community area?
Yep.
I think the question is you wanted
I'm
to
just
know
wondering
if
what
a
type
parent
of-
wanted to text me individually, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what
Through
feature it
this.
has
If
for
you
the
didn't have
means
the-
of a community member wanting to reach. I mean,
Not
for
everyone
whatever
is a
reason,
specific person.
picking up a phone and calling somebody individually these days is just, that's not popular. That's just not the way.
Right.
People wanna send something through something, whether it be a text or whatever, and I was just wondering if that has capabilities where if I wanted to reach Mr. Williams at the high school, if there was a way for me to do that. Provided an email address or a one-way text like you said, or what.
Yeah. So they would do that. So this would also be on the website, right? So it could be on the website or in the app where if someone doesn't have the app downloaded, they can still see this on the website as well. But to your point, they can come in here and they can make that phone call. If they don't want to make a phone call, you're right. I think people don't use phone calling as much anymore. They can send an email directly from the staff directory here. We could also, if that's something that you guys think would come up quite a bit, like community members like asking to be added to a list or just asking questions in general, we could set up a form on the app and the website too, where they could fill out like the form with their number or email or something, and then somebody could text them or call them. You could also put your cell phone number in there if you wanted to, right? Like that's an option too, but you don't have to. It's just email or calling the school through that portion. Did that help with things, or is that how community members typically reach out to you guys now? Is it just through the number on the website, or?
Well, I mean, I don't know, really, I mean, that would be for y'all.
Usually email, or a lot of times we find out things through Facebook, just that get sent, that
Yeah.
what may be going on. Not a lot of direct, this is gonna, kind of get back to what you said about, not necessarily, but getting back to a direct communication other than going through different channels, really, or different people, to encourage to do that one-on-one even. And in the groups, I mean, obviously, I think we'll learn more when somebody posts a question for everybody.
It
You
just
know,
seems
hey,
like-
what time,
it just
what
seems
time
like
again,
today-
is such and such, I missed it on, you know, and then we can post it to everybody. But if you need if an individual wants to contact you, that's been an issue before, it shouldn't be with an email, but here it's all in one spot.
I mean, I just think it's a society thing these days, you know, it's not the preferred means of method to pick up a phone call and dial and get somebody one-on-one and speak to them. Everybody wants to do it through some sort of device, you know, and I mean, like it or not, and I mean, I'm not a fan of that, you know, you wanna talk to somebody. Me, I prefer right here, but, you know, that's not how everybody operates, so, you know, if they prefer to get contact with somebody through that app, I just would like to make it as easy as possible so that if they want to communicate, they may not prefer the method, you know, that some people would, but we give them that method, or a method, try to make it as easy on them as we can.
And Chip,
Jason, yeah, I was fixing to say, you need to check, because you had some good points kind of in this the other day when we were talking about this.
that was the other day, you had to refresh me.
Well, you were fixing to talk about, I was being optimistic, you were fixing to say
No,
some things.
but, yeah, the big part that I liked about this, and I'm gonna go to another side of it here in just a second, that I don't know that Erin's hit on yet, or she did. I was in La La Land over here watching for my little girl to get picked up, but, the big part that I liked about it, that it's talking about, is when we feed out, they're gonna almost have to communicate with us directly, as opposed to just being able to communicate abroad, if that makes any sense. Which is a good thing. But what I liked about this too is because we're talking about the app side of it, but they also navigate our whole website. And they navigate making sure that all the state data is on there. They make sure that, of course, we have to give them the information they need, but they make sure that they're keeping in contact with us because they're doing this for every school district. What'd you say a while ago, Erin? 10 out of 14 now
Right,
went
Kobe,
with you all?
You're around 200 in the state now, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's 209.
So it's gonna be uniform pretty
Yeah,
soon.
so if you look at their websites, most of their websites are uniform with each other. I mean, so it's not like if you, for instance, Chip used, and when we was talking to him, when he was doing salary schedules, about 9 out of 10 that he looked at, you could tell were Apogee
going to
websites because they're overseeing it and they're making sure, their job is to make sure that state requirements are on that website, which is a benefit for us because
Double check.
we get caught up, well, just for instance, last week, I got caught up 3 out of 4 days just dealing with some issues that had transpired. And if I'd had to do something on that website, it just wouldn't have got done, and it wouldn't have been for any other reason than that was not the important factor of my day, or my week, to be honest with you. But that's their domain. But a lot of it is, I feel like, is gonna be just one of those where we always kind of bring up that we just need that one communication factor. And this is a good example of how that's gonna happen, because it's gonna be, and the only way as a parent or a guardian or a grandparent that you're not involved in this is if you just refuse to give your phone number. Am I right there, Erin?
Yeah, I think caught the tail end of that. You said if they just like refuse to have their phone on them. Is that what you
Correct,
said?
correct. I mean, that's the only way that I can see that you won't get the information you need, or if it's like Facebook, if you just don't ever log in. You know, if it's just one of those things you don't track it, then you're not gonna know, obviously. But this gives, to me, this just gives a lot of uniform in what we're required to do by the state, and then what else we can do that gets the information out. Erin, now you'll have to correct me, because some of this was from last week, but am I right in when we do, like we can do the generalized phone calls for snow days, or we've had something that's transpired, we can actually do that from home, correct?
Yep. You
Yeah.
can even do all of it from your cell phone, so I'll pull that up really quick.
Yeah, so
So
I
it's
mean,
similar to the screen we were just looking at, but there is a cell phone part to it too. So
and I
that's
don't
a
know
cool
if it
thing,
fed
right?
off what
Power
you was
goes
talking
off
about.
the school or
Yeah,
something.
well-
Like you're always gonna have a way to get out like the critical information, even from your cell phone.
There's only two more points I want to make, and if we need to discuss, and one, I know you're gonna go over the price here in a minute, probably saving that for last, but the other thing was, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, was if we commit to this, we would like to see, and Stacy, you chime in here too, that we go to this and we eliminate everything. I mean, one of the things we hear is we don't communicate well enough, or it's this or that. I would argue that we communicate in way too many, and we don't update. I want it to be all uniform, I guess is the way I'm looking for it. So if we commit to this, and that means everybody needs to, you know, like I said, if there's any, well, we need to know this now. I mean, that eliminates Facebook, and I don't know if Remind's not that big a deal, but I mean, it's going to be the same thing. We got to keep, you know, we need to push toward everybody using this and advertise that with everything we've got now leading up to if we're going to do something like this. Even if it wasn't Apogee or if it's down the road somewhere else, I don't think there's any reason to ever going to anything like this if you're not going to do away with, you know, make this, hey, if you want to know everything, and then if we don't keep this upright, then we deserve whatever backlash we get. But you got to commit to coming here, downloading the app, or you don't have to download the app. You can just go to. I look at the app thing like, since it's a website tied to the app, it's just like everyday thing. Somebody don't want to. I mean, I know people that still won't download an app because it's like, I'm not down. You know, well, you can go to the website. You don't have to download the app, and I'm perfectly fine with it. You know, my mom and dad, they download apps, but there might be some app that they don't want. You know, we don't. But they can still go to the website and get all the information when they download the app or not. Most people are going to use the app, and they're going to use the website too. Some, but is that all that right, Aaron?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really up to you guys, like kind of what channels you keep here. But I think that kind of what you're saying is sort of the goal for us. It's
Yeah, we said it to you the other day. I mean, that was my thing too the other day with you, was that I want to know if it would have all the capabilities that we're doing now in one place, and I think it does.
Yeah, and that's really what we're trying to do with the website or the app, and like you said, the website would work alongside the app too, is we hear on the parent side all the time, and there's even memes that have circulated about this, right? It's like there's so many places parents typically go for information, and it's like, how do we really narrow it down to where the app has everything they need now, and so it becomes kind of that go-to place over time. And I think it's like the events, the dining, right, whatever those sections are that you guys know that people are looking for, if they know they can get them easier here than calling the school, right, which you guys brought that up a second ago, people don't love making phone calls that much anymore. It's like now they know they can do this easier. It's like we're kind of encouraging them to come back and use this, and again, we really want it to be like that central place that everyone goes to for everything. Okay. And again, we can, for like the two-way communication, or like if someone has a question, like we could set up a form or something like that, or they can come in here, right, make calls, send emails, all from this spot. Sometimes districts will do this as like a phase two, so not to give you guys too much to think about today, but we could incorporate two-way communication, like kind of that remind side of things here, like later on down the road too, so that would be another way.
I think it's limitless what we're probably going to add to it, or we'll be able to add to it down the road. As they come, you know, that changes every day. So the basis of it, I think, is what I like about it, and then we can always upgrade. Talk about the cost, Aaron.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna point out too, I know you guys have mentioned the website, right? The website does work alongside the app, right? So like news, live feed, all of this will be the same as what we saw on the app. Design-wise, it can look a lot of different ways, but kind of to their point earlier, the goal is now it's easy for the district to update, and also easy for you guys, parents, people in the community, everybody to be able to find what they need as well, and that you have all that required stuff on there. So, well, I can talk about the pricing. Save the best part for last here. Let me pull this up. So for the pricing too, again, we're based out of Little Rock, and so we really want this to be like a partnership, right? Like, we don't want to, of course, we're gonna like provide a set of tools, but we don't want it to be something where we provide that, we're like, all right, hope it works, see you later, right? Like, we do try to be really hands-on with this. And that goes into the pricing, so everything's truly included, it's unlimited training and support, you guys can redesign your website every year if you want, right? All of that's a part of the cost. And there's just a cost per year and a one-time setup, so pretty straightforward here. For the cost per year, it's $6,500 plus $325 a student. So that'd come out to $7,963 per year. Okay. And then typically the one-time setup is a flat $9,500. However, September is typically one of our slower months because August and September, everyone's coming back from summer break. It's kind of a hectic time for districts. And so we're doing $2,500 off of the setup in the month of September, so it's actually just a flat $7,000. It kind of helps us like smooth our production for our implementation team.
So 7,000 a year.
Is that the one, I missed, what's the one-time fee this?
So 7,000.
Okay, 7,000 into the yearly fee based on our ADM that we talked about was what?
$7,963.
So one-time cost of 7,000 and the set roughly 8,000 per year.
Yep.
The only way that changes is if our ADM goes up or down.
Yeah.
At $3 and something a head, $3.25 a head.
Right, and that multiplier is small, so if it fluctuates kind of one way or the other, we just ask you guys for like a pulse check once a year. And so yeah, typically it's not gonna jump or go down too much in either direction.
No. So like I said, we can talk about this some more, we can take, we can start the process, wherever y'all wanna take it. But just while we got her on here, y'all ask her whatever, if there's anything you want, and we can get her back if we need to, I'm sure.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, and yeah, please feel free to ask any questions, and if you guys are like, put staring at us through the screen share, Aaron, I totally understand that too, so. But I'm excited, and I think now is actually like a really good time. A lot of districts will kind of do something like this over the summer going into the school year, and that can work well, but summer ends up being a really hectic time for everybody, we've learned, and so right now can be really good timing, so we can have something go live by January 1 as everyone's coming back from Christmas break, so it can be a really good time to implement something
And that
when
was what we
people are
talked
paying
about,
extra attention.
By January 1, that we got some time to implement it. It will take some time to set it all up, but we thought coming back, push the information out before, have instruction, whatever before, and then when we come back, we'll run like that. Y'all have more questions for her? Aaron, I'm gonna let you go, and we're supposed to talk with you tomorrow, so I'll bring you I'll talk to you and let you know good, bad, or indifferent, or whatever, okay?
That sounds good, yeah, thank you everyone for your time, and let me know if any questions come up whenever I hop off, but yeah.
Okay, hey, I'll text you if there's anything come up, I'll text you or call you or something tonight, but if not, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good, thanks guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
I think you cut her off, didn't you?
No, I think she said host did it. I'm not the host. I don't know how to host. Okay. All right, so thoughts, questions from me or anything else, or do we want to you want to wait a little bit, or you want to commit to this, or?
Well, the discount was only for the month of September, right?
Sure. She didn't say that to us the other day. I don't know. She didn't, it was 99,000 the other day.
Yeah, I think it's,
She
I
must
think
have
it's,
something.
I think it's one good for.
Yeah, I figured that was a sales in front of everybody, but that is still a break.
But, yeah.
We might get it
I'm
in
a
January
sucker
too,
for
though,
it.
I mean, I don't know, she might. But the thing about it, everything we've talked about, plus, like I said, and I'm not saying we don't always make decisions, but this is kind of becoming uniform. I think it's for the same reasons with everybody and what we talked about. My main concerns is where we go with it, if we want to dive in. I mean, it's like with anything, if it doesn't work, we can always backtrack and go back to Facebook and our own website. I mean, like we always say, but I think this is good. I think she just showed you some area districts that, I think she had ICC up there or whatever, so, you can go look around those tonight or whenever, but, I do want us to all agree that, we need to do this right, we make it do what it's supposed to do, keep up with it. I think it'll be easier, but if we do that, we'll publicize it, we'll do, the rest of the stuff and some of the issues that come with that go away, I think.
I didn't think to ask her, but I'm assuming it's just a one-year commitment at a time.
Yeah.
So if it didn't work,
Yeah, you can get out of it.
I like a centralized location for all the information instead of all the different ones to lose track of. I think it'd be a big time benefit.
And we tried that even with Facebook one time, but people got out about, it just but we'll have to do a better job.
But once again, this whole thing revolves around the data that's presented and gave to her.
Yeah, and we can also put it in there too, but yes, that ultimately happens. We need to give them, but all we have to do is give them access to a lot of what we got.
So any updates that comes about.
If we've got it
has to be
updated in
communicated
e-schools,
to her.
If
Still
we've got
communication.
it updated in eSchool, it should update there. And if something's not updated, which happens, it will get that way. It won't be their fault, it'll be ours.
Yes. I'm just saying, it's $15,000 to spend
One time.
based on data that, well, it's still gonna be $8,000 every year.
Yeah, well, one time,
Right.
then 8 every year.
But if it's not communicated to them, it's where the data exactly.
But now we pay some costs for websites now too. It's not free. It's not $8,000, but it does cost thousands. Even to keep any kind of website going, it costs money to do what we're doing.
Sure.
So I didn't compare to that, but to me, it's not.
Well, and it's still gonna be cheaper than, there's some districts have a communications director, and it's not $8,000 a year, and this is an area that we can do better and need to do better. $8,000, that's a lot of money, no doubt, but that's probably better than paying a communications director.
Well, if you don't give them the right tools, even if you were gonna hire them to just keep this and get a break from Apogee for not having to help you, it won't matter if you don't do if you don't use it the way we talked about using it. If we get this and we still got 13 Facebook pages in February, then that's not good. That's just simple as I can put it.
You're gonna talk with her tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna report on what our decision is, whether it's yay, nay, or wait.
I'm good with it.
I like it.
I just need a motion to accept it then, and obviously we'll be communicating with y'all between now, keeping y'all up to date, and we'll get on another Zoom with her tomorrow and start rolling.
I'll make it motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept Apogee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank y'all. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be good. Don is still en route. His wife, he had to take her to the hospital at 2:30, but he is coming. He said he would be here at 5:30, but he's not here yet, so we'll just go on and it might be him locking his car. Or setting somebody's alarm.
No, that'd be Stephanie's husband.
But we can go on through it. He'll be here.
All right, academic update.
Principals, do y'all have anything? We didn't,
No, really nothing's changed since
still don't have this.
last year, so we'll just, as we get it, you may have something appropriate.
Well, at the elementary, they have been doing the, oh gosh, I lost it now.
Atlas screener.
Atlas, thank you. I almost said Aspire, but I thought, nope, that's not it. Anyway, the Atlas screener. And so I asked Pam about it, and I think she said all but maybe 16 students are needing to take the initial screener. So we're getting close to getting that finished. I think it's due, it closes September 27th, so hopefully, but we will not get results until October 14th or something after, so
I got a feeling October, everything's gonna hit at once.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that's not gonna happen if everything's gonna hit at once,
Yeah,
but.
well, I mean, school-wise, I think that's, because that's when they're kind of predicting that last year's test scores would come out, and then these new Atlas scores would come out, so
There he is.
it's probably gonna be a domino effect.
We wanna go ahead and do the gym ACE?
Yeah, we're
project
gonna knock
update?
it out. I asked for, I'm gonna just read what I got from the architect again. He sent this to me today. Chip, I performed an inspection of the high school gym HVAC renovation project on Tuesday, September 10th. Found that all construction to that date appeared to be in compliance with the plans and specifications. Frankie Kroll, the project superintendent of Providence Construction, was there and walked me through the project. Number one, the HVAC and ceiling renovation at the front administration area appeared complete, and all units and ductwork and ceilings were installed new or modified as per plans. The HVAC system for the weightlifting room had not been installed but was expected to start soon. The HVAC package unit for that room had a delivery date set. Number three, the HVAC system for the gym was partially complete. The exterior metal ductwork and interior metal ductwork were approximately 80% complete and needed the exterior connections to the new HVAC package units which are yet to be delivered, but a date has been established. The cloth sock ducts in the gym itself have been hung and appear ready to operate, pending the HVAC units being set and made operational. Number four, the concrete pads for the exterior HVAC package units remain to be formed and poured, and the package units remain to be installed. All systems that I observed as of the inspection appear to be constructed in accordance with the plans and specifications. So we're still waiting on those units. That'll be the last. We're just waiting on the insurance work. That's all gonna be, that's why I read through this. It'll be the new air, and that weight room that we had a problem with. The stuff up at the front, is 80% done. So, we're just waiting on those monster units to come in, pour concrete, put those as soon as they get up, so.
So
Rolling.
by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think it'll be January, I think when we come back from Christmas, hopefully, that, sometime in, probably during Christmas break, it'll get turned on, so I'm hoping. Be ready to go when we get back, or whatever we got going on for Christmas break, and after, of course. Hey, you're here, come on in. You need anything, some drink or anything?
No, I'm
Oh,
fine.
you just got out of the car.
I'm fine.
I don't know if y'all met Don in person or not.
You get the camera.
I don't know if you met everybody.
I don't know if I ever know.
I'm Stacy,
Don.
nice to meet you.
Stephanie, nice to meet you.
Here.
Yeah.
Shannon,
Shannon.
we've met before.
We have.
Yeah, again, it's good to meet you.
I'm gonna turn it over to you. We're waiting on you, and, we've got through some other business. If it's since you're here, you got a long way to go back, and let you, go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about what you board members want to know about, what you want to hear. But I had a few things I wanted to mention first. There have been a lot of changes, as you know, from this year and this past year because of the LEARNS Act, which from the law side, it's like a sea level change. I mean, it is a big, big change for us because you look at things in different ways than we used to. So there's, for example, what has impacted us in my office is that you can meet with your attorney. That's the first time in my career, I've been at this for almost 50 years. And this is the first time we've seen that. And this year is the first year that goes into place. That was done, I think, by the governor because it's difficult to, I'll try to turn occasionally so y'all can hear me too, but it's difficult to plan if you get into anything that involves a legal matter. It's difficult to plan. It's sort of like playing poker and having to keep the cards face up. You don't have the opportunity to ask the lawyer all the questions you want to ask because there's certain things that we have to keep a little bit more private, not because I need to keep them private, but because there hadn't been a mechanism to talk with y'all. So that's one big area that we've had change in. Another one is in how we handle the relationship between the school district and its staff. So we've had a lot of changes. The Fair Dismissal Act for teachers is gone. And I think we're still trying to figure out what we need to do for the court system, which is different from the education system, what the law says. The court system also imposes, because we're in the United States of America and we have a thing called due process in our Constitution, we still have to follow that. So we're sort of crafting that as we go along. What do we need to do? So if you give notice to someone whose contract is to be terminated, then you go through a certain process. It says we have to give you notice, teacher, and we have to then give you an opportunity, if you want, to have a hearing. But even the hearing is different, because there's two choices for the teacher, which is not a good choice for a teacher, but one of them is you can say, I want to hear, I don't want the hearing. And then it comes on to the board for the board to decide in private. You go into a closed session to do that. If the teacher says, I want a hearing, then the teacher gets told it's in public. That has had sort of a chilling effect on some teachers. And in a few cases we've seen where maybe the teacher had an argument about something, would have gone forward, except that it's all public, and they didn't want to do that. So every piece of what we're doing with education gets a little bit of a change under Burns. The other thing is that when you look at contracts, you are looking, if one came to you to decide whether or not to terminate somebody, then you're going to be looking at that contract in terms of how effective is the teacher, what is their performance like. Most of us who work in the business world understand those two concepts. If you're not effective, if you have poor performance, then maybe you're in the wrong spot. But that's a big change when you have a state full of teachers who then have to learn what that means. Because what it also means is, in the schools themselves, you have to try to make sure that you're staying on, the superintendent will have to try to make sure that we're staying on top of that, and we're looking at where we are with teachers. If we have a teacher who's having trouble, you let her know that there's some problems, you need to work on it, so they have an opportunity to pull themselves up and tell them what they're not effective about or what they are showing poor performance about, just to give them a chance. And then it also changed, to some extent, not a lot, but to some extent it changed freedom of information. Freedom of information has always been that what you do as a board can go to the public. Not necessarily everything you're working on. You may split yourselves up, and a couple of people are working on whether or not, how bad is the shop, we need to re-outfit some things. You might assign that out to two of yourselves to look at and bring back information. You might go to your superintendent and say, we want a report about this, you might handle it that way. It doesn't become public completely at that point because you're looking into things, which you have a right to do. That's just called planning, just like any business would. So in that planning process, you want to be looking at, all right, what is it that we need over here first? We've got that all mapped out. Can we afford it? All of those, any question along the line of that is something that you're entitled to go through, to keep, to process, to talk about. And it's only till you get to the point where you say, well, we are gonna need to spend the public's money, that then that's got to come back and be a public. So you can do some planning. And I don't mean to suggest that you do all the planning in private, because you may want to be able to say to the public, this is what we're considering, and we want the public to know that we're considering it. Maybe you want some feedback about whether or not we want to upgrade our gym. It's something the public gets in a lot, so they may have an interest in that. So it's sort of changed a lot. It's changed a lot, but a lot of the things still a good practical sense in what you're doing is still what you need on the board. So, that's one. The second thing I'd say, in as far as the range of importance, it's your good common sense that we need on the board. We need on the board your interest in your constituency. And you have three basic constituencies. You've got the general public, because they've got an interest whether they've got a kid here or not. You've got parents, and you've got the students. And those three constituencies may have different, well, they will have different needs. They may have different concerns even within those three contingencies, excuse me. So you may be having parents who want to see something done that's going on in class, but you may have students who you think are learning from it, but the parents might believe we're not learning from it, or vice versa. And those are hard questions, because then you get something that's popular with the kids, but not popular with their parents. Or, what's even worse is you get something that the parents and the kids are fine with, and you're okay with, but the rest of the public doesn't want you involved in it. Coming over here, I was listening to the radio, and they had a story about TikTok. Well, if you ask kids, do they like TikTok, what are they going to say? Yeah, they like TikTok. The state of Florida doesn't like TikTok, and it's going to. They want to get rid of it. And now Biden has passed something. That's an odd combination. You got Joe Biden and I forget the Florida governor.
DeSantis.
Yeah. You've got the two of them agreeing on something. They hate TikTok. I didn't think we'd ever see that kind of combination. But you can get into situations like that.
Like cell phone usage in school.
Cell phone usage at school. I've always been sort of old school about that, thinking that I just don't think they have to have those phones all the time. But I'm way down in the minority about that nowadays, I think. I mean, there are boards who still try to regulate that, administrators who try to keep it as much of a lid on it as you can. But it is problematic, and especially if you get to a school that, where they've always, I mean, where they've been able to use them for a long, long time, and then something happens at school. Well, the way you're gonna find out about it is you're gonna see it somewhere online first. You're not gonna get the call. There's no way that your superintendent can call you fast enough to tell you that something's happened that may be bad, and get ahead of the public. Because the kids are calling their mamas and daddies and talking to them. So, and then one other thing that I wanted to make sure I touch on, and then I'm gonna just let you fire some questions at me, is in the area of your interrelationships as board members. I'll tell you that in all my time, the worst situation you ever can have is to have a split within the board or an argument within the board so strong that it's keeping you from doing the business. I'm not suggesting you are, I'm just telling you that's one of the things that you have to watch for among yourselves. And what that means is, what I like to see, I go to a lot of school board meetings. What I like to see is, if I'm there early enough, I'm not late like I am this time, is when board members come in, they visit. And they talk amongst themselves. We're here to conduct a business, so we want to get along. So, come in and interact like that. Actually, and even more important, when you have the public here, because they want to see you working together. So that, to me, is probably, when you cut through everything else, that may be the most important thing you have to do, is figure out how, in those cases, because every school district is going to have those cases, where you can't all agree, but you know you got to do something. And so we encourage boards to go the second, the third mile to try to come to some agreement. You may still have one or two people who are outliers, but to try to come to some agreement, even if it means taking more time to do it, because that's critical. Particularly, but I think it's critical for the general public to see that board that works well together. Not that you necessarily all agree. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you've got to work hard to try to see if you're able to agree. So I'm going to stop for a minute because there may be some other things you want me to talk about, and there's a couple of other things I may touch on, but I want to give you a chance to ask me some questions too.
Before I lose, I'm gonna turn it over to them, sir, but I know they'll have some more questions for you. But I was gonna ask you to talk about, real quick, when you brought up fair dismissal and everything, about non-renewal and the difference.
Yeah.
Now, because that's and then that's all
No,
the rest of it's there.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Non-renewal is just, non-renewal is almost, it's just about gone from the teacher's side. I don't mean the teacher is the one who might get non-renewed, because she's got an interest, or he. But there's not a lot of rights that are in there about non-renewal. So, like it or not, that's the law we have. And the law says that if a teacher is not to be renewed, then she can just be left off the list of people who are gonna be renewed. She need not be mentioned. And if the name's, not on there, if we have something, I see that you're recording the meeting. If we have something like this, where you're recording the meeting, then there might be some sign of something happened, maybe not, because they're just left off the list. And that's the law, they don't have to be given a right for a hearing at all. Do I think that's good? It doesn't really matter what I think. But if I were a teacher, I wouldn't think it's very good. But that's what the law is now. If someone is, even if someone has thought that they're going to be renewed, if things were okay, if they're left off the list, then they're not. And it never goes to the board. That's the way the law is written now. And also, if somebody is on there for the coming contract, there's also a method by which that board can rescind that. And that's even more problematic to me, because it's, again, we're talking about something that's going to be happening at the end of the school year, or near the end of the school year. So it's sort of tough to plan your life if you're a teacher, but it's also tough to plan for the school if it looks like we're going to have to let somebody go and then we'll find somebody else in the first part of May, when everybody's already lined up their jobs for next year. So what I encourage superintendents to do is to let us know when you get a situation that comes up like that. If that's a problem situation, let us know, and maybe we can help work you through that. But that will be coming from the superintendent, because on a non-renewal. Did that answer the?
Yes, which in my case still goes back, if that would be a principal's, I ultimately am on the hook, have to do that, but I'm not doing it without, principal, if it's in an elementary, it'd be something that Ms. Bradbury would recommend to me, same in high school.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I've got to be the one to do it.
And I would encourage the interactions that you have, to say, let the teacher know if there's a problem here.
Don't spring it on the,
don't spring it on them the first thing, but you give some opportunity to say, this is where you are. Then that teacher knows that she can go look for something else.
that's what I just want to clear that.
Yeah.
You talked about the way to have a hearing still and what that meant, I just wanted to, we've talked about it before and touched on it, but I just wanted you to say it.
So the hearing doesn't come into place unless it's a termination. They're two different things, termination and non-renewal. So, you had questions, I know. Or about, you want me to talk some about freedom of information, I know. So if there's not a question now, I'll just talk some about that. Freedom of information is a little different in terms of what thing, you can have the lawyer there, or connected. For example, I could be connected by Zoom, without coming over here. But I could be connected in your, executive session. That wasn't the law last year. It didn't come in with the first year of norms, it comes in, with the second year. Came in with the second year. So, that's a change. But I think that's only gonna be used really if you're into something that is, you're worried about possibility of litigation. It's usually when that would come about. If we think we might get sued about something, or we're not sure, or can we do this, the kind of question, that's the kind of time that you might make a call to say,
Need to schedule you in there.
yeah. And then, the other part about freedom of information is that anything that comes through on school email is subject to the FOI. It doesn't make any difference if it's a school email that you're using, that you're interacting with, that's subject to being opened up to the public. And that stays the same. If you use a private email, you still might be subject to the freedom of information. If it turns out that you're using the private email just to keep it from the public. Now, when do you know the difference? Is the big question. If you are interacting on your private email, saying something that doesn't have anything to do with school business, then nobody can get to your private email. That's private. So there's one of those balances about good and bad about private versus public email. Because if you use it in your private email and it turns out to be for school business, then if that got litigated, and rarely does it get litigated, but if it gets litigated, you might be you might have to open up your private email. Because that's what you used, and you talked about the public business. So, it's up to y'all to keep that separate. The other thing is that you don't want to end up conducting your business. There's nothing wrong with one of you asking another one, what do you think about this business about redoing the bleachers on the field? There's nothing wrong with that. How you gonna vote on it? Where you're getting closer and closer to, what does that mean? If somebody else looked at that, is that sort of lining up your votes in advance? It sort of looks bad to do that. So I'd be careful about that. That's something that you really need to say for the board meeting. And you've got the right in the public board meeting to go into private session, executive session, and talk about that. How are we gonna do this? What do what did the rest of you feel? I don't think we ought to do that thing. 4 of you say, well, I think we ought to. What's your problem with it? And you talk about it. And that's the way it ought to be handled, is when you're together. And then deal with it. And that way, you're actually conducting your business in your session, although you're using the executive session to try to work out details about what you want to see. Not to keep it from the public, but just, you can't, it's hard to do with the public listening in if you're looking at discussion of bids, for example. Because sometimes you get bids at the lowest, not just the lowest one. It may be what they're doing is more important even than the price, or how good a job they do. You might decide we don't want the lowest, very lowest one, because that guy's been in litigation before on his work. We'd rather have somebody that hadn't been in litigation, whose work stands up. So you can talk about those things privately together. But all that kind of business, you need to try to keep when you're together. You can call, you can set up a working group. You could say, I want to take a couple of us and usually you look at your president. So you look to the president and somebody might say, what if the two of us sat down and looked at these things and tried to put something together for the board? Nothing wrong with that. And sometimes that's really a time saver, particularly if you're getting close to what a couple of people do for a living. They may have a better idea about what that looks like and what we need in that. Not that they're deciding it. You might just let them, and there's nothing wrong with appointing two of them to say, and it ought to come back through the chair of the board
The
to
findings
say.
will come back here,
Yeah.
discuss it with everybody.
And so it's gonna be discussed completely, but to let the chair of the board make those appointments, or you all agree upon it. Do it however is most comfortable to you, but some protocol about that. Not that it needs to be a written protocol, because every case like that is gonna be different. It's pretty rare that you're gonna appoint a couple of people to look into something, but you can do that. And those two guys right over there who just got appointed to do that, then can talk together and come up with some information to take back to the board. That's all that's happening, because those two are not deciding it, they're just gathering information for all five of you. And so that's a legitimate use of your board members to do that. I'd be looking at why am I picking these two instead of somebody else, and not always going back to the same one if there's, but just however that works out for y'all, because it's not gonna be a common thing for you to do. What else?
So with the executive session and what can be discussed in there, it was my understanding that it can only be personnel or termination of a student, but that's not the case.
No, you can, you can go into executive session and talk about anything to do with personnel, but that can be broader than just a person.
It's a good question, because it was, when he was talking about this is the way I took it, and I think this will help. When you mentioned the bids, that's we're hiring, that's a hiring, spending the money. I think what she's is a great question, because you really shouldn't be running in there over anything. You don't even really need to be running in there over personnel, unless you just absolutely have to. I mean, you disagree or agree or whatever.
Pretty much taking away the need
For it, yeah.
for personnel, for executive session for personnel.
But, and that was also a point that I know that somebody's probably, is in those working groups too. Personnel don't need to be a topic of those working groups. Like,
No.
we don't need to
No.
assign
No, that-
2 people.
No, that's
Y'all
right.
go check on our math staff.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I left that.
Yeah, well, I think everybody knew, I think that's where her question, because I thought it too, when you said that, but I knew you didn't mean that. but-
So here's what the governor's new act did, is it said, if you're gonna be, non-renewed, then the name's left off. Now, it's up to the superintendent if he leaves it off, or if he leaves it off and tells you, okay, left these names off, because it's his call about that. It's not, you wouldn't be stepping in to say, no, we need to keep that person. You might grill him, you might drag him over the coals about, why is that person left off? And wanna know something about it. But that's really not the board's province anymore. That's one of the things, that's the flip side of this. She took the board out of the process, she took the teacher out of the process. He's using his principles to give him feedback, and then you are the one on the hot seat. Always, on the personnel. If it is a termination, that's different, and it's only different because the teacher has an option.
Have an open hearing or not?
Have it open and say what she wants or he wants, or not have, just not fight. So what we see a lot of is in those cases where it seems pretty clear that we don't have a good fit with the person and the job, superintendents being a little earlier about saying, you're really not doing that well. I'm a little not sure about your effectiveness with your kids. Maybe you're in the wrong age group or whatever it is. To give them a chance that maybe they agree. Because what's happening is in almost all these cases, it's cut out hearings. Because the teacher, why would a teacher who is being accused of not being effective, whether the superintendent's right or wrong, being accused of not being effective or being guilty of poor performance, the last thing the teacher really wants is to go into a public hearing and have that be the topic. So what we see a lot of times is the teachers not asking for the hearing because it would be public. And I think we'll, in hindsight, a few years from now, we're gonna think of cases where some teachers were hurt by that probably were decent teachers, but didn't get along with the right person. So, but that's the way the law is.
And to be clear here, I'll go ahead and state, this is a good time to state it. I won't be recommending any of that without the building principal,
Yeah.
which is the way it should be anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna come with someone, they will agree with it, they will have brought it to me more than likely, so we established that right up front. Superintendent here won't be making those decisions, never has and never
Yeah.
will on
And
performance. I'm not in that.
your building principals have a little bit more power also, even with staff,
Sure.
with their staff. Certainly they do under you, because I know what your habit is. But in all the school districts, they have a little bit more authority than they did have over weighing in on effectiveness and performance. So it's wise for your superintendent to listen to.
But to get back to, and that's what I want to get, but back, what are the reasons, or what is your take on the new, you can go in about safety planning now, that's something that got added because they want that, you need to go discuss your plan, it can be confidential. So my understanding is that anything that would have to do with the district spending money on personnel, company, obviously individuals, is that,
Yeah, if there's any.
if you could branch that out into what you, the example you gave earlier on bids was a great example. Because that comes up, because you gotta explain to someone why you didn't take the lowest bid in an open bid format. So, and you,
Don't that handbook specify like 11 scenarios or 11 reasons for executive session?
yeah, and I think
I
that,
mean, I know, obviously, the ASBA's handbook is far from state law.
yeah, but I just
I
keep
mean,
it,
they
like I
provide
said,
some guidance.
the question, Stephanie, is what I,
Yeah.
personnel, and can you tie it to personnel now and safety? If Don has any other more specific ways that it's changed, you know,
I guess I just wasn't seeing bids as being personnel, but I can see, I guess.
Well, the portion, I mean, as far as hiring,
because you're hiring them and you're setting the contract,
They
contract
are,
service,
yeah, you are employing a new.
you could stretch that out. You know, I think I don't know if you remember when we opened this, I said, we could do this, but I don't think I mean, there wasn't any reason.
yeah.
Y'all remember that? You know, but just to let y'all know, we could if y'all, because I don't know who you know, or, you know, I didn't think there was any chance that there was anything you know, that anybody had any preference or like that, but just in case, I mean, it's good to point that out, that, hey, if there is something you want to talk about while we're doing, we can do that first. Then we have to come out and make a decision to get there, y'all. But is that,
Yeah, I think that's a good statement. The, and if you're, there are particular rules about some jobs when you're doing outside contractors. So you need to know if you're not sure as a board,
we'll find out.
or if Mr. Lane is a little bit concerned about it, he'll give me a call, or
Yeah,
if you
we'll
get
make
back
sure.
in and you're in session and need to talk to me again, you can call me in executive.
But are there any other examples like Stephanie asked that we're not aware of, or I'm not aware of, that you could justify? I mean, because I think that's what you're asking, whether, if you went, you need to keep it to personnel and that, where that extends out into, like we talked about with contract services,
You can do it with personnel, you can do it with any kind of contract in that broad term
contract.
of contract services as well. Some contract services might not require that, but that's a rarity, like you're gonna do a yearbook. A yearbook, typically that's something that the school is working out, what's the best deal that we can get, and you talk about it, this is what the deal is, and you might talk about that in the executive session, but then when you finally are ready to sign the contract, he's gonna go sign it on behalf of the school. And that's whose signature that company wants. Tomorrow, I'll be sending out a letter to a company that the yearbook sponsor signed a contract with. We didn't tell the superintendent. And they've already gotten ready to set it all up. And I'm gonna be writing them a letter saying, too bad you don't get the contract. Because that yearbook sponsor didn't have the authority to sign that, that's the superintendent's job. So, that's the kind of thing, I know Chip, you know that, but, that's the kind of thing that comes back to the superintendent. And the discussion may be, if one of you had a question about that.
You can go in and talk.
Yeah, then you visit with him or bring it up, and talk about it. Nothing wrong with that, you can talk about it without giving the name of that company, because nobody goes to call them anyway. I can't tell where they come from now, they put these weird names.
I haven't had to worry about you, but
I would say that the biggest places that I see districts getting into jams are when they get either they're not too interested in something or they're way too interested in something. It's at those extremes that you really see that. might be something, as you talk about it, one of you, it might occur to you that, wait a minute, this is maybe a little bit bigger deal than you think. And that's when you're back there in the session and you talk about it. How do we want to handle it? Or it might be the other way around. It's something that is more important than you. You should be giving more time to it, or you should, whichever way it is. That's a kind of thing that you want to pay attention to. If that makes sense, I'm not sure it does.
Any other questions?
You know, but you're an easy board.
Do you have anything else you wanna throw out?
No, I do want to say that I think you are the lifeblood of this part of the world as a school, as a small school district. And it is absolutely critical if we're to save small school districts. The governor, I think, wants to keep some small districts, although there's still those cutoffs that you can hit and not be able to continue. But I think that idea of the small school district is something we don't need to lose in Arkansas. Because if you go, I remember when Mountain View, when that county decided that it's going to consolidate, then you've got kids spending 3.5 hours a day on a school bus because they've got to go now from Fox up to
Yeah,
Mountain
they're spread
View,
out pretty good.
or from Timbo across to Mountain View, and that's just not right for the little bitties. I don't care what you do with the kids, but the other ones, they tolerate it. Maybe they'll do their homework. I doubt it, but maybe they will.
They get another chance.
But I do applaud the small school districts for trying to keep their district together, because we know what happens otherwise. It's those 3 hours on a school bus for little kids, because we're not going to split the school district. It's going to go as a whole, one way or the other. We're always here, what you get, and I'll say this for the public, what you get for your money is my advice whenever you need it. It usually comes to me from the superintendent, asking a question that is a protocol kind of question about, can we do this, or can I move these teachers on my own, or what do I have to do? A question like that. If it's coming from the board, it's best if it's known by the whole board. The only time I get concerned is if I'm listening to something that I think maybe just one person calling me, but not, I like to get a call if you, now that you can talk with me in your session, then that's the way I like to get the call, because then I'll know that you're together. Or it may be something that it won't matter if it's in public. So you don't have to worry about the confidentiality of it. But still, it's better to call me when you're together. And then that way, nobody has to question why you did something or didn't do it. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was, that I forgot earlier, is you are board members, and you have certain, responsibilities, but sometimes you have a responsibility that you don't need to exercise. Now, that's a funny way to say that, but for example, if you have, something that has to be turned into the hotline. If it's to be turned into the hotline, that's something that you won't necessarily know all the details about. Where your action should be is back to your superintendent to say what's going on here, or if there is something. And so that, because, this goes back to the cell phones, things get out real fast. And so, if it comes back to out to the public, he's still investigating, then your call needs to be to him to say, are you investigating this? And if he says no, then the next question is, why not? If you heard it from a parent, maybe he hadn't heard it yet, that's one possibility. But even if he's heard it already, that you need to know, is it being investigated? If the answer to that is yes, then it's on him or whoever is investigating it. Occasionally, you have incidents, not necessarily in this district, but you may have some incident that we get the phone call because there's nobody on campus who would be appropriate. Maybe whatever it is has some relationship back to your superintendent and to the principals. Well, now we're out of it. Your administrators are probably not going to investigate that. They may be calling us and
But the
saying,
board's not,
but the board won't be investigating it either, because you've got to get all the facts together in a certain way. And what you're looking for factually may be something that, I don't know how to say it other than this, is out of your pay grade. I know you're not getting paid at all, but, so everything may be out of the pay grade. But it's out of your pay grade, so to speak. In other words, dump it on him. Dump it on the principals if you can't get a hold of him, or principal of whatever school, whatever campus it is. Make them do the work, but make them do it, because that's what's going to really, that's what needs to end up down at the state or at the hotline. And now there are penalties for not reporting, and those penalties, if you called him and if he didn't know about it, and he said, oh, I get around to that sometime, and never does, it's on him, not you. That seems like a better spot to me. So I think that's the way that protocol ought to be. Get it back to him, for sure, if you get a call about something. Don't hesitate. And if it's something that really you think is just grossly bad, tell whoever you're talking to go get him. You are a board member. And they'll find him and he'll get on the phone. And if he doesn't, well, it'll be him we have to get out of trouble. So, sorry.
perfectly right.
He usually ain't too hard to reach.
Huh?
He usually ain't too hard to reach. He'll answer.
Feel it.
Don gets tired of hearing it. He knows I don't care to pick up the phone.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, it's even worse when he was a buddy.
What?
No, well, he was too close then.
Yeah. I just might come up there and see you or something.
So, but what you get is, it doesn't cost any more for me to be called, because that's all included in what you're paying. So, if I'm needed for something, you call me in session when you're together. Or if you talked about this, authorize your president to just give me the call and find out, that's fine. Sure. But I sort of keep it one way or the other. Anything else for me? Well, let me apologize for being late. My wife, I can pick on her because she's not here. My wife.
She may be watching though. She may be watching.
You don't know who she is or how to get it. So, my wife not this last, July, but on, July 4th of last year, decided to let one of our granddaughters teach her how to play pickleball. And she slipped, and within about the second time, our granddaughter is about this tall, hit one back to her. She slipped and broke the neck of her femur right where it goes into your pelvis. And
She's not over that yet.
no, well,
It may never be.
last week
Yeah.
at the church, she's in charge of some committee and they're doing something. She turns around, trips over a chair and fell on the same spot. But, and the reason I'm late is I went with her because I had to carry her over there. I went with her to the checkup and they said, they confirmed on the x-ray that she didn't re-break. So,
Thank goodness for that.
that's all I wanted to hear. And then I took off and I tell you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right, anytime you need me, just give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Safe travels back.
Thank you, Don, be careful.
Glad you don't know where my wife
Next item is consider sale of school vehicle.
Yeah, we are, actually got some more information from when I did this, and again, I don't necessarily have to, I just kind of want to get your take on this, or kind of see, let y'all know what we're thinking. We are looking at purchasing an FFA truck again. First thing we'd like to do is get rid of the one we got now, just like we're going to take, correction, we're going to get rid of the white truck, we're going to turn the FFA truck into our new maintenance truck, and then we'd like to purchase another FFA truck. I've had Levi looking for used and new trucks, and all these bids all these estimates he's gotten are on Dodge Rams 2500, and I've got one here with 74,000 miles on it for 36.7. I've got one with 72 for 38.9. I've got one with 64,000 for 43.2. I've got one with 32,000 for 54, and I've got a brand new one here for 50,000. And I just got all this information today. We had told me some, I mean, who knows? So, really what I'd like to do, if you are in favor of it, is just get the best. I mean, I don't see how we can go wrong if we buy a new one for 50 if we're going to pay 43 or even 38 or 36 for something with 74,000 miles on it. And we can pay for this out of transportation money, which we've got a lot. And we bought our buses. From last year, I mean, we're in a good spot to do this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, how we're on buses before we go buy.
Yeah, well, we just got, two new, we're good. So, I would like for y'all to just say, do whatever, get us the best deal you can. But if y'all wanna act on, we can wait on this. I didn't come with intentions necessarily buying a truck tonight, but Levi came in with this afternoon, and I got to looking at it even closer. Vehicles are crazy right now, but anyway, thoughts, whatever. We need a truck, we've needed a truck. Now's the good time to do it. If we want to, there's not a lot of, when I look at these, again, if you want to pass that down, you can. This is what I'm looking at here, mileage and cost. There's a 22, a 21, a 22, a 22, and then a a brand new.
How much
New
is it?
four-door, extended cab,
Yeah.
single cab,
Cruise.
four-door?
2,500, oh, I'll just read. Crew cab, standard bed. And the new one, crew cab, standard bed. 4x4, 2,500 tradesman,
Gas burner?
I think so.
Oh,
Let me
yeah,
make
it'll
sure.
be at least 50 grand.
Yeah, it's a gas burner.
Yeah,
It's
gallons of gas. They're all, and, some of these are gas burners.
gas. I imagine they all are at that price,
Yeah.
because that's about another $10,000 on top of that at least.
Yeah, and we're in a point where, we may see a day where all we burn here is gas and then the buses moving forward. So now, we're not there yet, but
Electric.
it's happening. But that,
So what do we have in transportation fund right now? I don't even see it on,
it's,
before we go to making motions.
it's 101,000.
That's all we have.
Yes. I don't know if it's on these forms or not.
See something that says enhanced transportation.
That's it. Where's
Yeah,
that?
109,
Okay,
587.
109,000, yeah.
What page?
That's
Right here, right here in front of it. It's in the 2,000 funds.
Yeah, 2,000 funds.
Looking over this. Oh, enhanced transportation, that's it.
It's right behind the second page of the minutes.
195.
Yeah.
Well, you say we're good on buses.
And we're good on buses.
And sell the half-ton of white Chevy.
Yes. I'd like to get your approval to go ahead, just like we did. I got the bus bid, one bus bid, fixing to open next, but I'd like to get your permission to put that out, the white truck, whatever we can get.
What year model is that thing? 03 or, I mean, I know it's a cat
I thought it was 06,
eye. Could be.
but it might be older than that. It's 05, it's around that 03 to 06.
So you said get rid of the white truck and use the FFA truck for what?
We're gonna move it to maintenance.
Maintenance, okay. So right now, you just need a motion to consider the sale of the school.
Yeah,
And the other one, right, the bids for the sale.
well, I hadn't opened that one yet. I mean, I
Just
kinda
for
got
the
ahead of
truck.
myself, I was just making the
Okay.
reference to, we're gonna open this one bid I got tonight. That's what hopefully we'll do on this white truck next time. And then any guidance y'all wanna give on the new truck? No, wait, get it done, whatever you'll decide.
What other school vehicles do we have?
We have two vans, we have this white truck, we have a little car, we have a Tahoe. Now, the little car and the Tahoe are not, the only ones we send teachers out in would be, or anybody really on a trip, would be
The minivan.
the minivans and this truck. The Tahoe will be next on the, but it's also a good thing to have around if you need to load stuff. I mean, it still gets around, but I don't think we would send it to, Little Rock tomorrow. Definitely not sending the truck we're asking you to sell, it stays right here on the camp. It goes to town, but it's been a good one. I don't know what you think, you got your money's worth, for sure.
That's
And then
one
some.
thing you should grab.
So. Yeah, it had over 300,000 miles on it 6 years ago. So, and it hadn't been on, but it's used every day. 5 years ago.
So So we need a, we gotta.
I'd like your permission to sell the white truck first, if you want.
I'll make that motion.
I'll say.
So we have a motion and a second to sell the white school vehicle. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
We can go ahead and do this, and then if you always want to sit on, we can wait on the truck, I mean, it's just whatever. But, I mean, the FFA's not gonna, what we're doing with these two trucks is not gonna matter, because we're not sending either one of them, the white or the FFA, the current FFA truck on anything substantial.
So
He's
how's,
using it, he's gonna use this truck.
all right, so I do have a question. So how's the attendance as far as FFA goes?
It's better. I think we need to strike. I mean, it's not a roaring chat, I mean, but it's better since the end of last year.
Go ahead, I'm trying to.
$725.
I'm trying to think of the really professional way to word
I
this.
recommend, to Everett Parnell, I recommend to you, we get that done with him, for that bus.
I'll make that motion.
So we've got a motion and a second to accept the, that was the bid bus.
$725.
$725. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
How does that get posted? I'm just on Facebook or?
Yeah,
It's just low.
we sent, yeah, that's actually higher than some,
Really?
Yeah, buses are
$250, they don't bring anything.
Okay, sorry, who made the motion second?
Chad there,
Thank you.
It's actually higher than I thought it would be.
Wow.
me too. I didn't figure bring 5 up. I was thinking that's
We
pretty
tried the auction, I was supposed to do a couple of them, didn't get this.
good. Nobody wanted.
Alright, are we ready to go to personnel, or do you have a question that you're trying to?
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
So we didn't buy a truck because we didn't have the attendance. There was not a need for a $50,000 truck or even a $38,000 truck. Is there now? Is the question I've got.
I think there is more now, and there will be, yeah.
I trust you.
I tell you the one thing I know about FFA, I got the opportunity to go watch the pig show at the county fair, and was really pleased, and was really tickled with the number of kids, and the showing we put on up there. And I wanted to go back Thursday for the beef, but I wasn't able to because we had something else going on, but there was a good showing up there. It's the first time I got to go watch it. I hate that that's the first time, but it'll not be the last.
Well, right now, we got a trailer kind of without the truck, you know, we got some people, that, you know, we need to have our own, set up, you know, I've never disagreed with that. I mean, you know the reason we sit here without a truck.
I know exactly that's why I've got, I ain't gonna say I've got concerns, but I had some questions about it.
Yeah.
Cause I don't have a child there now. I've always had one in FFA up until last year.
And I don't know, I mean, I can't answer next, you know, this year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, if you'll have 50 kids, or 40 kids, or 30 kids, but
I understand that.
maybe you can answer better right now, where you think we're at, FFA.
I think we've got more interest with FFA kids than we've had since I've been here. I mean, that's even just when they come in the schedule, I think we've got more interest. I think having Mr. Pendergrass has really done a good job promoting his program and himself, and he's got a really good personality. I think we'll see his numbers increase. But at the same time.
Do you see a need for us to spend half of our allotment of transportation money?
I think you need a truck, because right now we're in a situation that we're gonna have to start begging somebody else or borrowing a truck from somebody. For instance, they're going to Harrison to show pigs, which I mean, since you've asked me, they're making 2 trips with his personal truck because we got that many pigs that we couldn't get them all in one truck.
That's what I need to know.
And he's scheduled to use this,
Yeah, he's scheduled to use this one, but,
which is fine.
yeah, which we've got it worked out, but he was prepared to take his personal truck, which, I mean, however y'all wanna look at that, but it's just, for his end, I'm so surprised he did it, really. I mean,
But I'm not an expert up, I mean, evidently we need a bigger truck too, for this, and that trailer and all that, so I'm not an expert on that.
but I foresee that program over the next years growing, because I think even the younger ones really just like him. I think they just like what's going on. he's going, I've signed more welding rod POs than I have since I've been here in the last month and a half, because he's got them out there and they're working.
Well, he just got an upgrade grant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right, I
That's right,
forgot
I
about
tried to
that.
bring that up.
He just got an
He just got a
upgrade
grant
So,
for $26,000, kinda like
Big grant.
we got for
I got it.
facts last year, so we'll have some new stuff.
Well, I'm on board with a new truck, as long as it is used for Norfolk High School FFA. Not a personal vehicle.
I think it will be.
Our trailer bumpable, isn't it?
And where does the transportation money come from?
It's figured on a matrix depending on like where we're at location wise and about, again, with poverty and everything. It was actually supposed to go away, but we've been getting, 2 years ago, but we've got.
It's still coming in, but
Yeah, no, it's not, and
But it could be
it's not, I mean,
any
it could be
time.
not here next year, no, but I mean, that's,
Any
Either
state
but
provided
any,
funding.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All
As
state,
with all state
all state
provided
funding
funding.
is, yeah, subject to.
but we have managed to build a fleet of buses and
Sure,
vehicles and stuff that are, we're in a lot better shape than we were,
definitely.
so. And this is another, this is something that's been on the table before and, should have been done, but it wasn't, for good reason, and I think we're in a position now that we need to revisit it, for sure.
Okay, I'll make that motion to buy a new pickup.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to buy a new FFA truck. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Okay, do y'all care which one of these?
I suggest
Suggest you
the
get a
new
new
one.
one.
Well, if you look, y'all wanna look at this thing,
Not really,
there's the prices.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
There's the prices and the miles, and then this is what there's the new one. So, I just don't see any reason.
Well, your warranty's gonna be on it.
Your warranty's
You're not
gonna be
have-
on it.
you ain't
That's
gonna
what I
have
was
a
saying, we ain't gonna have anything on 70,000,
No.
none of these,
And most likely, 74,000.
not even over 30.
Right, 4
Well-
years.
Some of them are 100, but even at that, you're gonna be out of it in 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's a no, okay, alright, thank you. Get on it, leave it, I'll be happy.
Okay, consider amendment to bus driver salary schedule.
Yeah, we have one route that is an hour and a half long, and we are at a severe shortage of bus drivers. This all goes hand in hand. We've got a resignation tonight. Before this resignation happened and everything, I was gonna come to you tonight and ask you to amend the salary schedule for one route by $1,000. All of our bus drivers get paid the same. Levi's been to me a couple different times now, he's stressed out, we don't have very many subs. We're running into, y'all heard this, it's actually worse or getting worse, it's worse as of today. My recommendation was gonna be to add $1,000 to one bus route. This is hour and a half bus route, he calls it something, I can't remember, we'll make sure all that's straight. To 11.3. That would increase that by $1,000. I still think we should do that. Now, the person that was gonna get it is not gonna get that, so we know it's not part, this is for anybody. I'll go ahead and recommend to you that we accept a resignation from Lee Bray for maintenance and for bus. And what's gonna happen with his bus is we're gonna have to hire another bus driver, which Levi's looking for right now, but there's gonna be some swapping. I think his wife's gonna take his bus route, and then Kenzie Rangel is gonna take her bus route, and that will leave this one that I was gonna recommend for $1,000, that we'll be able to advertise that, that, hey, this is a little bit harder route, we need a route there, but you're also gonna make a little bit more money. It changes nothing in the scheme of that, so, to knock out most of what we got left here, except for the special ed clerk thing, that's where we're at.
So I'll make a motion to accept the maintenance resignation.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the maintenance resignation. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
You said that's bus driver and maintenance, right?
And we need to accept the bus driver resignation too.
I'll make that motion for the bus driver.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bus driver resignation. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
All right, now, and then back to the, I'm okay with advertising this one bus route that we can't get away from, that's 30 minutes to it, but, well, an hour total longer than everyone else is at minimum to 11:30.
Does that need to go through the, sorry, does that
No,
need to
no.
go through the classified PPC? I
You
didn't.
can do that if you want to.
I am not anticipating that they will disagree with the increase in the salary, you know what I mean? Why they would.
Will will that be open to any of the other bus drivers to?
Yeah. You got one that knows that they were possibly gonna get that don't want the route bad enough, they're not gonna get the $1,000. To be clear on what I say.
Yeah, they don't.
But,
Mackenzie Rainbow's gonna switch.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
but the in-house has the option
Yeah.
to apply for it or whatever.
Yeah, we've hired, her and, that's her. So far, that's all but now there is a guy that called about, I believe I said, there's an older gentleman that just retired or something that can drive, that he was talking about today, but yeah, anybody, I think, I may not be aware of somebody, but anybody that's been waiting on a route, I think is in right now. But if we got somebody else, yes, that's ready, I'm sure he'll do that. I'll make sure he does that, but I don't know that we have that person, I guess.
I just didn't know if it was an increase of $1,000, if it would trip someone else's.
Mine.
Yeah.
But like I said, on the
Anyway.
reverse side of that,
That's
the
the
person
hope,
that,
that's the hope, right?
yeah, the person that was gonna get it, don't want it, she wants the other route.
Yeah.
So,
So
that's,
hopefully that'll
to make my
entice them
point,
to
yeah,
sit
yeah.
by someone else.
six someone have.
Nobody wants to drive a long rock.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
I'd say
It's our fault.
I knew that, no.
Yeah, that's our route.
So do we need a motion, or we're gonna wait to the,
I need a motion to change that salary schedule.
I didn't know if we was gonna wait on the PPC.
Oh,
Do we?
that's up to you.
I say no, let's get on with it. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We've got a motion and a second to accept the amendment to the bus driver salary schedule. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Consider elementary special ed clerk stipend update.
Yeah, I meant to do this last time with, or maybe the time before with, when we done something on the Medicaid for Leanna. But as I said that month, we have got some severe needs. Our new LEA came to me and recommended this to me if I could do it. I said, yes, I can do it, because we've got some people doing some extra clerk work and things, paperwork, basically, pushing that to one teacher instead of, or one person, make sure it's all gets done right, then trying to spread it out over, and they're responsible for it. We can track it to them, he can track it to them, the new LEA. It's gonna be $2,500. It's really not a change other than we're actually paying 2 stipends for that now for Medicaid and for clerk. I'd like to recommend to you that I add special ed clerk as a separate entity with Medicaid, and Medicaid clerk stands alone with the call.
And is that for somebody that's already doing it?
Crystal
Or you
Baker
have to
will
hire
be who's
somebody?
getting that. She will get that in April when we get stipends.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to accept the elementary special ed clerk stipend. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Other.
You got our cell phone vouchers yet?
I've talked to them today. They're pretty strict in how they do things, but we will have them the week before parent-teacher conferences, so I'm in talks with them right now about teacher meetings Friday during teacher conferences or teacher in-service. And then when we do open house, I'm gonna schedule a time for question and answers for those, and we start pushing them out the following Monday and Tuesday. But no, that company is not, you can't just call them order pouches, it's a process for them. They're pretty been pretty good.
I've heard a lot of positive on it, actually.
It's been very good.
Really?
Everybody, yes.
I think a lot of it
I think
too.
people are thinking more like that.
I've been seeing a lot,
Some that I. do not
NBC
even-
News, I mean, talking about the
Some you
pouches,
wouldn't sure
I
about.
would
how
have
good
thought.
everything has gone up as far as, grades and, percentages and everything's up high for the schools that have done this too, so, a lot of positives there. I know the kids hate it, but, oh well, wait till they're adults.
I only had two concerns from at the beginning of the year. It was both, because, well, what if I need to get in contact with my kids? Call the office, that's what we should be doing, is calling the office. And I get it, it's hard to let go, but no, knock on wood, it has been honestly, not to have them and just enforcing what we say we were gonna do, and teachers standing behind it, knowing that it's there, it's good.
I haven't heard
Yeah, I hate to jinx it.
Maybe not having.
Knock on that door, somebody.
Maybe not having the path initially is kind of
Yeah.
a soft
Yeah.
rollout, kind of transition,
Soft
eases into it, yeah.
Soft
And then by the
transition.
time they come
But
in,
we
maybe
felt
get
like
some
when we-
growing pains out of the way.
When we zoomed, I zoomed last week and then we zoomed again today, because like I said, they got some stuff they want us to go over with teachers during in service. And, then we felt like too, though, having that question and answer session at our parent teacher conference, just scheduling 30 minutes in the night. Of course, that's during the tournament, so we're gonna do it in the cafeteria is the plan, and just kind of putting it out, and that's the time you come over and ask any questions, you know, get any concerns voiced out. That might open the door to a gripe fest, but, at the same time, it gives us the opportunity to say, hey, this is why. And she gave us tons of data, of just student success. I mean, really, she gave us a lot of data on student success. It's,
I think it's just important for us to have in our policy, or at least our standard
Absolutely.
operating procedure of, that
But
Mr.
we-
Williams can make I mean, you can make an exception and make the phones available, or a phone available anytime. It's not set in stone, it's not a, you know what I mean? There will be times and instances where there's something needed,
yeah.
and that, lies with you to make that exception whenever you deem necessary.
Well, we talked about, which we'll change that a little bit after speaking with them in more depth, but, we talked about that we were going to collect them all at the end of the day, but they highly recommend against that, because then you can't track if a student tears one up. So they've got them on a number system, and when you go in, student, Ms. Ferretti's gonna get number one, and if she tears number one up, we know who tore number one up, and you can track it, they take it with them, it's their responsibility. So it's more about even accountability with them. Talking to them has been really kind of eye-opening, just because it's not just putting some cell phones in a packet, it's about the whole accountability aspect for it. If you tear it up, you're responsible to pay for it, they're $40 a pop, and then what happens when they tear two up, what's your school's policy on that? So those are discussions we've had. It's stuff that you just don't think about. So that'll all be stuff that we will go over in parent-teacher conferences too, just because we've added more into their policies as to what we're gonna have to expect as we go forward with it. But it's been a good conversation, it really has. But I fully expect, like I said, after the Thursday night of parent-teacher conferences, we'll, Monday morning, Tuesday, be passing those out to students.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. We got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor